Hello, this is Lucy, and I'd like to welcome you to my official artist channel. Here, I'll showcase music that I write and perform live, as well as videos from other artists. And please, don't be a stranger. I auditioned for Mary Wilson in 2001, November, just after 9/11. I never thought for 1 minute that I would be on the stage with one of the original Supremes. Mary chose me to be the soubrette in Sophisticated Ladies, which would go on tour in 2002.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special reflection celebrating the late Ms. Mary Wilson of the Supremes. My name is Waka Anwusa, and I'm the Chief Curator and Vice President of Curatorial Affairs here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. Again, thank you so much for joining us for this special night as we look back and celebrate the amazing life of Ms. Wilson, her music, her legacy, and her impact. So before we get into this beautiful night of reflection, I just want to encourage you to visit our website, rockhall.com, where you can learn more about our upcoming programs during this beautiful celebration of women's history. We're honored to be doing this program tonight, and truly, again, encourage you to check out our programs where we have some great ones also following this amazing program, like this one this week. So without any further ado, I also want to welcome you to share your comments, share your feelings. Ms. Wilson, whether you knew her in person or not and just knew her through the music, we would love for you to share those comments with us tonight. So please feel free. Let's share the love. No negativity. This is a place for positive vibes only. So let's get our program started for tonight and hear a message from our president and CEO, Greg Harris.
Hello everyone, I'm Greg Harris and I'm the President and CEO of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum, and I'm honored to be part of this special celebration for the life and legacy of the one and only Mary Wilson. I'm standing inside the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame gallery. We started inducting artists in 1986 into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And just 3 years in, the Supremes were elected to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Sometimes you're known by the company you keep. Along with them, the Beach Boys, the Beatles, Bob Dylan, and then the Supremes. Florence Ballard, Diana Ross, and the lovely Mary Wilson. Today we honor Mary's legacy. When we heard the news of Mary's passing a few weeks ago, we lowered the museum flag to half-mast in front of the museum. We played her music all day long in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We put one of her incredible dresses on exhibit for fans to see and experience, and together we mourned her passing, but we celebrated her music. And here at the museum, we're going to continue doing that far into the future. These artists will be remembered here always. Mary, you are such an important part of our family. Your music lives on forever here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much, Greg, for that beautiful comment. And like you mentioned, the Supremes were the very first girl group that were ever inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, talk about an indelible impact right there. I mean, beyond it, whether you grew up listening to the music, you're just getting familiar with it now, the Supremes have had such an impact on who we are as human beings. And I'm just so honored that we have an honor to celebrate the Supremes legacy here in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So if you have an opportunity to come and visit us here in Cleveland, during your visit where Greg was standing, you have an opportunity to see those signatures, listen to live music, and just celebrate the legacy of the sound of young America here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Also in our In Memoriam exhibition, you can also see a beautiful gown. And we all know Ms. Wilson and some may and may not know, but Ms. Wilson held a large collection of the Supremes gowns, one of which is currently on display. It's called Green Petals, and it's actually from the 1968 album, of Diana Ross and the Supremes sing and perform Funny Girl. So we have that on display and you can see that now. Up next, our Vaults and Oral History series. We have a beautiful conversation from 2012 with David Ritz. And we want to toss it up to that. And here's a first clip of Ms. Wilson sharing what her first audition was for Motown Records. Let's go ahead and check this clip out.
Now we're at the point where you go to audition for Mr. Gordy. How did that happen? How did you?
Well, our initial audition for Motown and Mr. Gordy was probably through several connections, but I think Diane was the main one who had known Smokey and Claudette from a previous neighborhood that she had lived in before moving to the projects. And so she said, well, I'll call up Smokey, you know, and I said, great. And at the time, we also had a guitarist with us that we had met when we were over at the Prime's apartment, Marvin Tarplin, who also went to the same school that I went to. So we saw Marvin one day walking along the street with his guitar, and we said, hey, can you play that thing? And he said, yeah, I can play it. And I'm like, oh, I know him from school. So he came up and he became our guitarist. Well, when we went, first before going to Motown, we went to the house of Claudette Robinson, and all the Miracles were there. Bobby Rogers was there, Pete Moore, and Ronnie White, and of course, Smokey. And I got there, and I'm like, oh, Bobby Rogers, he went to the same high school I went to. So, I mean, we were like, we all knew each other, but no one knew what someone else was doing, you know, that we came together. And so we auditioned for their group, the Miracles. And so then, of course, Smokey was involved in getting our audition with Motown. And so I don't know how the audition was set up, but it was set up, and we went to Motown to audition. And might I add, at the audition for the Miracles ended up taking our guitarist, Marvin Tarplin, who ended up writing lots of songs with Smokey. So that was like, we lost a guitarist, but Smokey got a great person to write with him. And so we go to Motown, we audition for Berry Gordy, and there were other people there, Richard Morris, who was a writer, Robert Bateman, who was a writer, performer with the Raylettes there at Motown. And it wasn't the Raylettes, I'm sorry, it was another group. Anyway, it'll come back to me. So we auditioned, and at the end of the audition, we were sharp. We wore pretty little outfits, you know, matching outfits, and we sang our little hearts out. We sang Ray Charles' song, and we sung a Drifter song, and then I think I did a ballad, I'm Sorry. And after the audition, Mr. Gordy said, I think you girls should come back and see me after you graduate from high school. And we were like, what? Totally disappointed that he did not like us. Years later, I found out it probably wasn't because of our singing. It was more because we were young girls, and the company was very, very young, and he just didn't want 4 girls running around and having the responsibility of them. But we were so hurt. I recall Florence saying as we walked out the lobby, it can't be that great if they don't know how good we are. So, but that's the kind of girl Flo was, you know. She said whatever was on her mind, and we were very disappointed about that. But one of the guys in the audition, Richard Morris, said, "Hey, look, he ran out after us. He said, look, I know of a company that probably would sign you." So we said, "Oh, okay," and we went with him to this other place, Lupine Records, and we sang backup for people like Wilson Pickett, Eddie Floyd, and those records are out now, which I never knew they had released them. But anyway, pretty soon we said, this is not what we want to do. We want to go back to Motown, and that's when we started making this trek down to Motown Records every day after high school, and just sat there, and people would come by and say, "Hi, Mary Wells," you know, "Hey, Smokey, how you doing?" You know, and we just we befriended everyone there. until eventually someone came out on the porch, months later, someone came out on the porch and said, we can't find any background singers and we need some hand claps. And we said, we'll do it, we'll do it, we'll do it. And that's kind of how we got into Motown eventually.
And the rest is history, as I spent the next 22 years with Mary Wilson,
It's the tenacity
either
for
on the
me.
road
It's
as a background
her
singer,
perseverance,
as her
confidence,
vocal
all
coach,
of the ladies.
or
That
just
video
as
there,
a friend.
you really get a glimpse into who Ms. Wilson was. And for those who don't know her, seeing that video, that captures the absolute essence of who Ms. Wilson was. So we're so grateful that we have this as a part of our oral history and collection, which is something that visitors and the public can check out from with our library and archives. So more of this interview there. So one of the amazing things I think is working with Holland Dozier Holland. I mean, a true queen. Their first #1 hit was Where Did Our Love Go in 1964. I mean, truly, I'm loving these comments. Mary was a real queen. Thank you so much, Jeff. Carl, a true friend. Thank you so much for your comments right now. I mean, everyone who's sending all this positive energy, it's truly felt right now. All right, so we are actually going to head to another video that we have from one of our oral history programs. And this is highlighting her #1 hit as well. So we want to chop it up to that video.
Berry Gordy was the person that really believed in us. I hate to say Motown, because Motown really is so many, many different people, but Berry was the person who really took a special interest in us. And, he allowed us to be in on meetings and different things. And he said to us one day, I'm going to put you with my top writing team, which is Holland Dozier Holland. That was Eddie Holland, Brian Holland, and Lamont Dozier. So we were thrilled, because now, it's like, hey, we got our own writing team with us. And we recorded a couple songs with them. And one of those songs was When the Love Light Shines Through His Eyes. As soon as we recorded it, we knew that we were on the right track. And so we actually thought we were on our way, because I believe it was bubbling under. It may have been whatever, but working with those guys, we kind of felt more secure, because we had people who really were concentrating on us. I won't say just us, because they were writing for other people, but they were concentrating on us. And they came up with a couple of songs that they said, we want you to record these. Well, we weren't really crazy about them, because they were kind of like bubblegum music, and we wanted to be more like the Vandellas, or the Marvelettes. We wanted to have a dancing in the street. These were kind of like cutesy songs. And the first one was Where Did Our Love Go? Then it was Baby Love, and there were a couple others. And so it was at the time we said to the Holland brothers and Lamont Dozier, listen, guys, we're like, I think 17 or 18 years old, something like that. And our parents were pressuring us to stop singing and go to college, to think about as most parents do. You got to think about what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Right. You can't be playing now. We allowed you to do that. But now you got to get serious. And so we said this to, the team, HDH. We said, we gotta get a hit record. And they said, trust us, these are hits. And we didn't like it. It was like, baby, baby, where did our love go? Now, all Florence and I were doing was, baby, baby, ooh, baby, baby. And so we're like, we do more than that. We sing harmony. We want to sing harmony. There was not even harmony. It was all, so we said, okay, we'll have to do it. I remember crying to Eddie, saying, Eddie, please get us a hit record. He said, Mary, trust me, this will be a hit. And years later, we found out that even the Marvelettes had turned the record down. So they were just trying to push that record, but it ended up that it became a hit record. And we were on, at that time, the Dick Clark Caravan of Stars show. And we also found out that Berry Gordy and his sister Esther had almost forced Dick Clark to take us on this tour. But Dick Clark really wanted Brenda Holloway, always say, I'm sorry, Brenda Holloway. And he wanted her. He didn't want us. And she had the record out, Every Little Bit Hurts, you know. And so what Esther and Barry told Dick Clark was, listen, you can have Brenda if you take this group, the Supremes. And so he really didn't want to do that, but he took us anyway. So, and we didn't even get paid hardly any money, okay? But during that tour, and they did, Barry did tell him, well, we're releasing a record that's going to be a hit while they're on the tour. So anyway, so Dick Clark took us. The record became a hit while we were on his tour. And the tour was like with Gene Pitney, the Shirelles, Lou Christie. I mean, it was a whole group, and others. And we were the and others. And several months, a month into the tour, our record, Where Did Our Love Go, became a smash. It went to #1. And so I always say thank you to Dick Clark for taking us. But do I have to say thank you to Motown for pushing and making them take us?
Now,
Such a beautiful interview. There are over 3 hours of this interview footage, which again, you can find, it's available to watch through our Library and Archives collection. So check out more, and you can find where to find it on rockhall.com. So one of the things I love about the story that she's telling too, I mean, they were called the No-Hit Supremes for several years before that song became a hit for those ladies, and it allowed them to travel the entire globe, as she mentioned. Early in the 2000s, the Rock Hall opened a new exhibit called Reflections, the Mary Wilson Supreme Legacy Collection. Right now, we'll hear from our Director of Collections, June Francisco, on his recollections of that beautiful moment and that exhibition. Let's take a look.
Their home to pack all the items up in early 2000 when the Rock Hall featured her gown collection, their Supreme gown collection at the Rock Hall. And before we did that, I had to go to Las Vegas to actually Henderson, Nevada, at her home to pack all the items up. And of course, obviously I knew Mary as Supreme, saw her picture, her videos, never met her in person. So when she opened the door, when I first met her that morning in Nevada, I was surprised to see the regular Miss Mary, not the superstar Mary Wilson. She didn't have her hair done, no makeup, just a house dress, and she's very down to earth, very informal. Asked me if I had breakfast and all that stuff. So it was very relaxing. I was kind of apprehensive and what she's going to be like, but she put me at ease right away. So I started packing all the items in her garage. And in Nevada, while you're under the sun, it could be scorching hot, and then in the shade it'll be so cold. So I was in the shade in the garage, and here comes Mary Wilson with a coat, winter coat, and a cap, and told me to wear it because I would get sick if I don't wear anything warmer. And so for her to worry about me, someone she's never met before, it was just amazing. It showed how caring she was. And so I did that, and then I took it off after she left because I felt stupid wearing a coat and a cap in the winter in Nevada. But anyway, after that, we traveled the gowns all over U.S. and then all over England. And one time in Bath, England, I was talking to her in the lobby of her hotel, and she was just being regular Miss Mary. And then suddenly a few fans noticed her and started inching towards us and asked for a photograph. And suddenly she became superstar Mary Wilson. to see that from being a regular person into the, you know, the person she was in public, it was just amazing how the transformation. And also years later, I was in a hospital. I had cancer, and I was recovering in the hospital, and she actually sent me cards, well-wishing cards. And then after that, as we worked together related to her gown collection, she would always ask me first, whenever she calls me, how I was doing, how I was progressing with my recovery and all that stuff. She never went straight to business. She would always ask how I was doing. So to me, that was Mary Wilson, a very caring person, and for her to care for me, someone of that stature to care for me, I think it's just amazing.
Gosh, thanks to June for that amazing story. It's getting me a little bit emotional, so I'm trying to keep it together here because it makes me think of the moment that I had an opportunity to first encounter Ms. Wilson, and I will never forget calling her. This was when I started my journey, my curatorial journey at the Grammy Museum. And, you know, we're doing this celebration while America was celebrating and embracing the Beatles. The UK was embracing the Supremes. And this personal touch here, this is me and Ms. Wilson. This is on my journey to Cleveland. She came to my actual going away party and she showed up, and at that party, we had a conversation, and like many conversations that we had, and she basically told me, as she's told a lot of her friends and those she's mentored, to just walk a never stop dreaming. This is so amazing that you're going to the Rock Hall. I'm so proud of you. And it was beyond this feeling of, like June expressed, of this superstar who we know and celebrate as, you know, Ms. Mary Wilson of the Supremes. She just became Ms. Wilson. In this moment, I had an opportunity to travel as well, her exhibition, The Gowns, with the Grammy Museum. It was because of Ms. Wilson that I got a chance to ever go to Liverpool, the first time ever, where we were talking about the reverse of the British invasion and how American music made such an impact on the UK. And we had a beautiful opportunity to travel that exhibit and share her story. We road trip together. That was in Mississippi, that last photo you saw. We road trip together from Memphis down to Cleveland, Mississippi, on Highway 61. And I will never, ever forget that amazing opportunity. I mean, she was absolutely the best, so personal. And June is correct. I mean, anytime that I talked to her casually, even you know, a few weeks before she had passed, she was asking about my mom, asking about my dad. Waka, how are things in Cleveland? How are they treating you down there? How are you doing? And to have someone so poised and so beautiful like that, who could step down from this beautiful pedestal that we put her on as who she is, the Supremes, Ms. Wilson, she was able to touch you in such a remarkable way. So with that level of kindness, that exhibit opened, and you know, we were joined by Ms. Mary Wilson again for another conversation in the Rock Hall's Foster Theater. I want to share a little bit about that conversation up next.
As we had the great opportunity to start working with Holland Dozier Holland. They were the greatest writing team I'd say ever, as far as I'm concerned. Of course, arguably, a lot of people would disagree with that, but I think ever, because he not only wrote, as Terry said, for the Supremes, wrote and produced our 12 #1 records, bless you. He also produced records for Martha and the Vandellas, you know, for the Four Tops, Sugar Pie, Honey Bunch. You know, they produced so many great songs. So anyway, these are the three Holland Dozier Holland boys. Berry Gordy put us with them, and that's when our hits started. And we started traveling around the world. We started doing the Ed Sullivan shows. We started traveling to Europe. We started traveling, and now we're more sophisticated than before. We started having the beautiful makeup and the gowns. And here we are with Smokey Robinson embarking upon, in 1964, our first European tour. Now, this is after you know, being in poverty, and this is the first tour. We got to Europe the same time the Beatles were coming to America, and it was almost like an exchange of knowledge, because the Supremes went to England, and this is how we were received in 1964, and the Beatles came here, and we all know how they were received here. So it was just wonderful sort of cultural exchange that was going on in 1964. Now, I'll tell you why it's so wonderful, because when we went to Europe, okay, the headlines read, 3 black negresses have just landed on the shores of England. And so we're looking at these papers talking about, who are the negresses, you know? And so, but I mean, that was how, because they had never seen, you know, other than like the Josephine Bakers, I mean, that this many, the 3 beautiful ladies, and they would come up and they'd stare at us, you know, like this. And so here we are in Trafalgar Square. We started doing command performances. We were meeting like the Dave Clark 5. We were hanging out with Paul McCartney, and we were hanging out with the Animals, and we were just kind of like all over the place. We were traveling to Sweden. Here's the most sweetest lady, other than my mom, on this earth, and this is the Queen Mother. This is the Queen's mom here, and she's still very much alive today. And this was like actually in 1968. This particular picture, the gown that you see we're wearing, this is it here.
Again, just some beautiful moments. I am so honored I had a chance to even handle that gown. So beautiful. In that video, she talks about 1964, the year that the Supremes had 3 #1 singles, Where Did Our Love Go, Baby Love, and Come See About Me. So this is just such a beautiful impact. Like she said, 1964, they were already breaking barriers, busting through ceilings at a time when African Americans truly were going over so many hurdles, not only in regular life, but in the music industry as well at the same time, and how they did it with grace, elegance, and straight up confidence. And I absolutely love this. So the artifacts are always a powerful way to tell a story. It's what we do here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And like many of our music museum partners across this country and world, the artifacts truly tell a story. I'm so grateful that we get to tell those stories firsthand here. And again, you can see them on display of Ms. Mary Wilson here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Next, I want to share a story. We have an amazing video of one of our team members, Brad Scarton, and his career and life have overlapped in unique ways. Let's hear from Brad and his experience with Ms. Mary Wilson.
In the summer of 2000, and at the time the Supremes were kind of in the headlines again because they were supposed to reunite for a summer tour. And Mary had a book signing at Borders Books and Music in Westlake, and I was the first in line, and I waited and I had the book and I was reading through it, and then Mary walked in and she had a cowboy hat on with feathers and this rhinestone jacket. She sat down. And I walked up, and the first thing she asked was, you know, how old are you? And I told her I was 11, and she asked if I had friends that listened to Motown or any kind of music like that, and I said no. And she had my book, and she kind of looked at me, and she goes, I'm going to write something special for you. And she had a motto, which was Dare to Dream. And that was something that she believed in, that people keep dreaming, that they're, don't give up, keep dreaming through your life, always accomplish and go after whatever goals you want. So I was an intern here in 2010 in museum collections, and my second day, June Francisco was my supervisor, and he goes, we're going out to the storage unit, we're going to go through the Supreme gowns. And I was like, I didn't think I was going to do anything Supremes related or Motown related when I was here. So we go out to the storage unit, and you know, we're having to make sure that everything was accounted for in each box and it was properly packed. And so it was going out to Seattle for an exhibit, and you know, going through and seeing what they had, and to be up close and to have the gloves on, to touch and to see. And that's part of the reason why I worked with Mary, was because of her costumes. She wanted a complete inventory of everything that she had about what was missing and the history behind everything. When I first went to work with her in Los Angeles, she picked me up from the airport, and we were going to her storage unit in the San Fernando Valley area. I forget which town it was in, but there was something going on in the 405, and Mary goes, I don't really want to drive through that. Let's just kind of go up through Bel Air and take the mountainside and go in. And it was fascinating to hear her talk about, you know, Berry Gordy lives up there, and Dionne Warwick lived in that house, and I remember I lived down there, and it was just fascinating to have her, you know, remember and reflect on things that were part of when she first moved out to LA. And I'll never forget, we got to this one part in the road where there was this beautiful view of the San Fernando Valley, and Mary kind of stopped the car, and I was just wowed. And, you know, she kind of looked at me and she goes, isn't that great? You know, isn't that a wonderful view? And then we went right to the storage unit and went right to work, and she kept everything. You know, I think that's one thing that, me being a historical person, is that she held on to everything, documents from the Supreme days, and she kept all the gowns, and, you know, finding things that she didn't know she had, and photographs. You know, she just kept everything, and that was kind of rich to go through and see what she had. But she really took an interest in me as a person, and making sure that, you know, I went to school, and you know, that I dreamed, because that was important to her, that I went after what I wanted in life. And you know, I think she was probably one of the most generous people I've known, because what was important to her was, and she told me, was taking young people underneath her wing and mentoring them. And I think it's something that she picked up from Berry Gordy, was seeing potential and talent in others and cultivating it. And I know I'm a part of a long list of people that she's done that for. Some who are incredibly great friends of mine were mentored by her in her youth, and they've gone on to have such accomplished careers in the music industry, best-selling authors and writers, performers in actors in the entertainment industry. I think that's something she took pride in, was mentoring young people, and that's something that I'll always remember her by.
As a child growing up with my two older sisters,
so much, Brad, for sharing
we
your
saw the
amazing
Supremes
story.
as
Makes me
the
think of when I
example
first actually
that
met
we
Brad. It was
would
in
follow.
Los Angeles at the Grammy Museum, and we had an opportunity to, again, work on those gowns. And let me tell you, those gowns were no joke. I mean, those gowns had serious weight on them, some of them weighing even over 30 pounds a piece. And I mean, the craftsmanship that went into those gowns, again, Ms. Wilson's love and passion to collect and keep a record of her own collection, I think is so beautiful and so powerful and impactful, to make sure that that legacy continued to live on, so that the Rock Hall could tell it, that the Grammy Museum could tell it, that the Motown Museum could tell it. This is actually a photo of one of the exhibits that I curated at the Grammy Museum called Legends of Motown. And we celebrated the Supremes, and we also celebrated the Miracles, among other groups. But in this, and I'm sharing this photo of Ms. Wilson and I. This was really a special moment where she was just, I mean, encouraging me just to be the best that I could be. Waka, go for it. And you can see I had a whole lot of hair back then, a completely different look. But I mean, Ms. Wilson definitely encouraged everyone that she touched and knew to be their absolute best. So I am just, this thing has me so pumped and so inspired right now. So we're going to actually take it over to 2015, when the Rock Hall honored the great Smokey Robinson at the annual American Music Masters Series. It's a week-long tribute, and it culminated in an all-star concert at the Cleveland Playhouse Square. And it was an amazing night of performances and so many memories and reflections. She actually performed 2 songs, Floyd Joy and The Way You Do the Things You Do. So let's actually check that clip out.
Formed for the American Music Master Series for Smokey Robinson. And she had emailed me and she goes, what songs do you think I should sing? And Smokey had written some songs for the group, and I kind of listed a couple of them and a few that he had written specifically for her to sing. And she performed Floyd Joy, and that was something that he had written for her. And I think it was their last top 20 hit.
We've got more Motown royalty coming. Please welcome Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, the Supreme Miss Mary Wilson.
You got a smile so bright. Come on. You know you could have been a candle. I'm holding you so tight. You know you could have been a handle. The way you swept me off my feet. You know you could have been a broom. And baby, you're so sweet. You know you could have been some perfume. Well, you could have been anything that you wanted to, and I can tell the way you do the things you do. As pretty as you are, you know you could have been a flower. If good looks was a minute, you know you could have been an hour. The way you stole my heart, you know you could have been a cool book. And baby, you're so smart. You know you could have been a school book. Well, you could have been anything that you wanted to, and I can tell the way you do the things you do. You make my life so rich, hey. Come on, y'all. Woo! Life so rich, you know you could have been some money, and baby you're so sweet, you know you could have been some honey. Well, you could have been anything that you wanted to, and I can tell the way you do the things you do. You really swept me off my feet. You made my life complete. You made my life so bright. You make me feel alright, y'all. Smokey, you make me feel so good. Woo! The way you do the things you do. The way you do the things you do. Come on, y'all. Hey!
Mary was the example of fight
Oh my God.
and
That was
grit
so amazing.
and grace
I love it.
and
The way
beauty,
you do the things
all
you do.
in
Oh,
the
Ms.
same
Wilson, we will never
person.
forget it ever. In that amazing performance, oh my gosh, which was a phenomenal concert. There were 4 Motown legends featured in that celebration. We have a beautiful photo that was taken by Janet McCosker, which featured Smokey Robinson, Martha Reeves, of course, Ms. Wilson, and the incomparable Mr. Berry Gordy. Absolutely stunning. She looks so beautiful in her gown. All right, so we're going to keep this celebration and this reflection going and take it to a beautiful clip by our Director of Artist Relations and Curatorial Operations, Ms. Shelby Morrison, with a special story about Mary's Grace.
Touch. Mary always signed off her emails with the word touch, not best wishes, sincerely, or even love. Touch was always followed by what anyone but a fool would address her as, Ms. Mary Wilson of the Supremes, and underneath that, in italics, a consistent note that was always part of her signature. Dreams do come true. I was fortunate enough to trade email exchanges quite regularly with Miss Mary over the years, and most recently, as we were making plans for her to attend the 2020 induction ceremony in Cleveland, as she hadn't been to any ceremonies other than her own. Every spring, she attended the Kentucky Derby and turned down that special invitation to come and see us. Of course, the 2020 ceremony was a virtual experience, so she wasn't able to come and visit as she so often did. And the stories of her kindness, graciousness, and loving spirit are passed around by our staff like the most delicious dessert recipe.
I have to share this beautiful note because Ms. Wilson did end a lot of those notes. I brought this beautiful postcard that she sent me in 2015, and it was while we were working together. And I'm not going to read it, but just to receive anything. Number one, this woman called me back, left her a voicemail several years ago, and I was just honored, number one, that she called me back. But the fact that she shared this note, and I will cherish this for the rest of my life, but she signs it, as Shelby just stated, with touch and to never stop dreaming. And I will always hold on to this. And I'm just so grateful for the Supreme's impact, not only on my life, but for so many people around the world of color, of whatever your sex, your religion. She didn't see that. She saw the beauty that was inside of you. And I'm just so grateful that she was able to touch all of us with her music, with her elegance, with her grace, with her style. I remember my mom, who grew up in a small town called Napoleonville, Louisiana, and just recalling seeing, Black women on TV, on the Dick Clark show. She was able to touch so many people. And before we even heard the comments of dare to dream and follow your dreams, the Supremes, Ms. Wilson, Diana Ross, Ms. Ross, Miss Florence Ballard, they all did that for us and created such, just a pathway for us to have a Destiny's Child, for us to have these amazing, phenomenal female groups that we experience today. They would not be without the love, the passion, and tenacity of the Supreme. So thank you so much, Ms. Wilson, for touching all of our lives in the way that you did. We can never repay you back. So actually, let's keep this going. Shelby mentioned, the 1988 induction was the only induction ceremony that Ms. Wilson had an opportunity to attend. So let's take a close look at the tribute that night, where the Supremes were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by none other than the rock and roll originator, Little Richard, and he inducts Ms. Wilson, and she accepts the award for the Supremes. Let's take a look at this memorable night.
The first women in rock and roll are the Supremes to me. It's never been anything like them, and I don't think it ever would be. They are the greatest, and I just love their rhythm. I love the way I just love the Supremes. I've always loved the Supremes. And I just want to let you know this is a great group, one of the greatest ever been and ever would be. I am proud to introduce to you and to present to you Miss Mary Wilson, the Supremes. Let's give it to her, come on.
First of all, I'd like to sort of talk about the fact that, come Lisa closer, that I was very privileged to have sung with two really wonderful people, Diane and Flo, and that Florence could not live to be here to know that what we as three little girls, three insecure little girls had dreamt of could possibly come true. It saddens me to know that, but that's life and there's nothing we can do about it. And I'm very proud that everyone has given us this honor so that her daughters could be here to see how much we loved her. Now I'm going to read my speech. This is one of those rare moments in a person's life and in history that we all dream of. And like I wrote in my book, Dream Girl, My Life is a Supreme, dreams do come true. Sometimes people have to just keep dreaming. We all hope that the world is looking in when we receive our awards and that the world can share in the moments of happiness that we each receive. I'm told that in order to be eligible to receive an award for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you had to have recorded some 27 years ago. Well, I was 6 when I started. It's very obvious, I'm sure. And it was because of one young man at the time, Berry Gordy, who was there for us. We had a place at Motown Records to go, and I'm very happy to say that he gave us the opportunity, and we cannot forget Holland Dozier Holland, whose music still lives on today. Florence and I shared a success that you all were looking in on throughout the world. And I certainly hope that you as people received and you were able to see the hopes and desires that we had, and it helped your lives along the way. I'd like to thank the directors of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for honoring us at this moment, and that we all can remember that rock and roll will never die as long as we, the people, are out there making it happen. I thank you very much.
What an amazing speech. I'm over here crying while the video is playing. I mean, Zhao, I love your comments. I'm going to call you out. This gown is absolutely stunning. The slit, the sleeves, I mean, absolutely beautiful. And again, just the true epitome of grace and resilience. And like she said, just continue to dare to dream. That performance, or not performance, that induction ceremony was 1988, taking place in New York City. And we are so honored to have that as a part of our memory, our archive here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We will never forget it. So as we wrap things up for tonight, I mean, she's left us with so many positive words. I think we can really hold on to that with the times that we've been dealing in with this pandemic, times of loss. But in that loss, we are celebrating her life. And I will never forget, working with her. There were 2 songs that she revealed that were favorites for her. It was with the beautiful red gowns called Red Hots. She named them Red Hots. And they were in the second iteration with Cindy as lead vocalist for the Supremes group. Up the Ladder to the Roof, one of my jams. And also a beautiful song that she would continue to perform up until the late parts of her life. I saw her perform it at a jazz club and so many other events, speaking engagements. But Here's to Life by Shirley Horn. And I mean, if you need to hear any music, obviously we're going to be jamming to the Supremes all day long, all year long, all the rest of this Women's History Month, no doubt. But make sure that you check out those songs. Those were definitely some favorites that I'm passing on to you if you didn't ever hear about it. But I think, just tonight, we want to make sure, as Ms. Wilson said, rock and roll will always live on. In the words of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, long live rock. We are so honored that your legacy, Ms. Wilson, Supremes, will continue to live on through the music. And that we are so grateful that you've left us with.
So you made it all the way through. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Now, going forward, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, comment. I would love to hear what you think. And please, don't be a stranger.